Al-Nassr snatching a Liverpool star, are Manchester United finally signing a proper goalscorer? So where is Victor Osimhen actually heading? Barcelona ready to ditch Fermin Lopez? With Bayern already lining up a contract for him? All that and a load more in today's episode. Look, before we start, just hit the like button. Then you can ask yourself, wait, why did I just do that? Because 400 likes means I'm happy, the YouTube gods are satisfied, and all these mad transfer rumors start to feel a little more real. Done it? Good. Let's get into the gossip. 100 million euros. That's the latest headline from Al-Nassr, a club desperate to catch up with Al-Hilal and ready to throw astronomical sums at whoever can shine alongside Cristiano Ronaldo. And their number one target? Luis Díaz. But let's talk about why Liverpool are even considering it. It all comes down to the contract. Díaz is tied to Anfield until the summer of 2027, 2 years left. And that's exactly when the balance of power starts to shift. From club to player. If Liverpool don't sell now, next summer his value could plummet to just 35 to 45 million pounds. Wait any longer, and he walks for free. So, if Liverpool want to maximize the price, the moment is now. There won't be a better one. But who is Luis Díaz to Liverpool? He's pure chaos on the pitch. That explosive dribbling, that ability to beat 1-2 defenders, it's a rare gift. The kind of skill that disrupts even the most structured defenses. But it's not all perfect, is it? His end product can be frustrating. The final pass, the finish, it doesn't always come off. He's more about creating chances than finishing them. And that leaves the club with a dilemma. Can you find someone with dribbling as unique? Not easily. But can you find a winger who scores and assists more? Probably, yes. This is where FSG come in. And from their perspective, a 100 million euro offer for a 28-year-old who's not your top goalscorer. It's the dream scenario. Not a loss, but a chance to reinvest in two hungry, 21-year-old talents who could be the club's future. Is it risky? Massively. And don't forget, this is Arne Slot's first proper challenge at Anfield. Does he fight to keep a key player going against the board? Or does he accept the sale, prove he's a club man, and take on the pressure of rebuilding Liverpool's attack from scratch? And then there's Luis himself. It's not just a footballing choice, it's a life decision. On the one hand, becoming an Anfield legend. On the other, a level of financial security most can't even imagine. Legacy versus wealth. So here we are. Saudi money piling in, a ticking contract, and a personal crossroads for the player at his peak. My take? If the figures are real, FSG's pragmatism will win. But what about you? Considering everything, has your opinion changed? Would you sell or fight to keep him at the club until the very end? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So you want to understand the absolute mess that is modern Barcelona? It's a paradox, really. Just look at the situation with Fermin Lopez. Here's the setup, a young, hungry, homegrown talent who runs his socks off for the badge and is a favourite of the new gaffer, Hansi Flick. What's the logical next step for a player like that? If you're Barcelona, you put him up for sale, of course. The reason won't surprise you. Barça are completely broke. Their catastrophic financial issues haven't gone away, and it seems those famous economic levers Laporta was so proud of have finally rusted shut. The club has to slash its wage bill pure and simple, especially with a big money move for Nico Williams on the cards. And because Fermin is a valuable asset, but not quite in that top bracket of untouchable stars, he's the prime candidate for the chopping block. But it's not even just about the finances. Just look at the team sheet. The midfield is absolutely stacked. Pedri, Gavi, De Jong, they're still linked with Dani Olmo. Rafinha might get pushed into a central role. The wings? They'll be nailed on for Lamine Yamal, and if the deal happens, Nico Williams. So where, exactly, does Fermin fit in? He could be playing the best football of his career and still find himself warming the bench. And here's the truly absurd part. The club doesn't want to sell him. Flick values his work rate and his knack for arriving in the box. Fermin himself has gone public, saying he wants to stay and prove his worth. But the cold, hard reality is setting in. Barcelona have officially changed their tune and are now ready to consider serious bids. And yes, while there's a 500 million euro release clause in his contract, that's just fantasy stuff. If a real offer comes in, they'll have to take it. So who's circling? The main clubs who've been tipped off are Liverpool and Bayern Munich, who have apparently been tracking him for a while. Don't be surprised to see Chelsea or the Saudi clubs join the party either. Money is certainly no object for them. Barcelona are being forced to cash in on their own future just to stay afloat in the present. They're not selling a player because he's failed. They're selling him because the club has failed. Fermin Lopez isn't the problem at Barcelona, he's the casualty. A casualty of their own financial incompetence. So, I'll throw it over to you. First, should Fermin jump ship from a club that uses its academy products as financial plasters? And second, where's his best move? Is he a perfect fit for Liverpool, Bayern, or a different team entirely? Juventus are going all in on Victor Osimhen. Strengthening the attack is their #1 priority right now, and the Bianconeri are back in for the Nigerian striker. According to Gianluca Di Marzio, Juve have already made direct contact with Osimhen. The plan? Get a green light from the player himself before opening any talks with Napoli, but it all hinges on 2 key pieces falling into place. First, Osimhen has to actually say yes. Second, Dusan Vlahovic needs to be sold. That's when Juventus could also move for Jonathan David, who's now a free agent and available at 0 cost. Speaking of things that are free, you know what else doesn't cost a penny? Subscribing to the channel. And yet, some of you are making it harder than Juve trying to bargain Osimhen away from Napoli. Come on, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, I honestly don't know what's going through your head. Seriously, hit the red button and let's get back to the transfer drama. Right, so where does Napoli stand in all this? They're ready to sell. The relationship between Osimhen and the club has only gone downhill. You'll remember he already turned down a meager offer from Al-Hilal worth something like 30 million a year. So we know what he wants, to stay in Europe and play at the top level. Now Juventus are focused solely on convincing him. The wage talks come later. They want a verbal yes from Osimhen first, and only then will they open real negotiations with Napoli. But here's the tricky bit. Yes, there is a release clause, 75 million euros. But that only applies to foreign clubs. For Serie A sides like Juventus, Napoli can push the price up to 80 million, or more. And we all know how complicated things can get when it comes to deals between Juventus and Napoli. Juventus have their plan down to a T. Step 1, get Osimhen's approval. Step 2, finalize Vlahovic's exit. Step 3, reach a wage agreement with the Nigerian. Step 4, approach Napoli to talk transfer fees. It's all clear. Juventus want Osimhen leading the attack when the season kicks off. This isn't just another lazy rumour. This is a real active transfer operation. Now it all comes down to Vlahovic and Osimhen's final call. What we're hearing? Osimhen wants to stay in Italy. And if he's going to move anywhere, it's Juve he's waiting on. Let me know in the comments, would Osimhen be a game changer for Juve? And what do you make of selling Vlahovic to bring him in? Imagine you bought a brand new top-of-the-line gadget. 12 months later, you're desperately trying to flog it to your mates for half price, and you're even offering to pay for postage. Well, that's basically what Chelsea are doing right now with Christopher Nkunku. Let's just get into the facts, because this whole situation is absurd. First up, Chelsea aren't waiting for offers. They are actively trying to sell him. They're literally touting him around the market to their biggest rivals. The lucky clubs on the list: Manchester United, Arsenal, and Tottenham. They are not just open to a sale, they are desperate to find a buyer. Second, the reason: it's a total clear-out. Apparently, Enzo Maresca just doesn't see a place for the Frenchman in his plans. Why? Because the club has already sealed the deal for João Pedro from Brighton, who's seen as a similar type of player. On top of that, they're on the home straight with a deal for Dortmund's Jamie Bino Gittens. There's just flat-out no room left in the attack. Third, and this is the best part, the price. Chelsea are prepared not just to sell, but to sell at a massive loss. It's being reported that Manchester United could get him for just £35 million. Just to remind you, they bought him for £52 million. Yep, that's a net loss of £17 million in a single year. A stroke of genius, honestly. Bravo! Fourth, the sheer level of desperation. It's gotten so bad that, according to Rumours, they even considered an insane swap deal for United's Alejandro Garnacho. Can you even imagine the level of panic in the Chelsea boardroom? Look, Nkunku is essentially a victim of circumstance here. Across football, he's still seen as a top player who just got incredibly unlucky to land in the perpetual chaos that is Chelsea. The guy, bear in mind, even with all the injuries and instability, still showed flashes of the quality player he is, but apparently that's not good enough. Everyone knows that in a stable environment, under a different manager, he could easily get back to being the machine he was in the Bundesliga. So what's the bottom line? Chelsea are once again proving they have no long-term strategy, only impulsive, panic-driven decisions. They're getting rid of a player they signed with so much fanfare and are willing to lose a ton of money in the process. And that brings us to the big question for you. If you were in charge at Manchester United or Arsenal, would you take the risk on Nkunku for £35 million? Is it a brilliant opportunity to snap up a top player at a discount, or are you just buying damaged goods? Every single time the transfer window opens, following Manchester United is like watching a bloody soap opera. Hundreds of episodes, dozens of names, non-stop drama, rumours. And the finale is almost always some ridiculous, nonsensical plot twist. But it looks like this season, the scriptwriters have decided to actually surprise us. Instead of another £100 million vanity signing, a name has appeared on the table that reeks of actual common sense. Yeah, I'm in shock too. We're talking about Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa. And the juiciest part of this is the backstory. Get this. Aston Villa, who were absolutely flying, have played themselves into a corner. Financial fair play, that invisible hand of the market that sometimes curls into a fist, is about to come knocking hard. They're right up against their loss limit, which means one thing: it's a fire sale at Villa Park. And what's the first thing you put in the shop window when that happens? That's right, the family silver. And the crown jewel for them is Ollie Watkins. This is where United, who've been desperate for a reliable goalscorer, start to smell blood. They see a wounded animal and they realise this is the chance. A chance to snatch a proven top-tier Premier League forward, not for silly money, but for a cut-price deal. All the insiders, from Romano to The Athletic, are singing from the same hymn sheet. United aren't just interested anymore, they're actively testing the waters. So, let's get to the main point. Do they actually need him? Mate, they need him like they need air. Let's be honest, with all due respect to Højlund, the team can't survive on just flashes of potential. They need a guy who is Mr. Consistent, and Watkins is that bloke. Last season, this guy had a hand in 31 goals in the Premier League. He isn't just an out-and-out striker, he's a player who carries the entire attacking structure on his back. He finishes chances, he drops deep to link up play, and he presses like a man possessed. He does all the hard graft, all that dirty work that most star strikers are allergic to. And yeah, he's 29, and thank God for that. United have been burned so many times by projects and potential. They need someone who walks in on day one and delivers, not someone who needs years to adapt. Watkins is a guarantee of goals, a guarantee of work rate, and crucially, he fits perfectly into the high-intensity football that Amorim supposedly wants to play. So, the situation is crystal clear. On one side, you've got a club that desperately needs cash. On the other, a club that's dying for goals. And right in the middle, you have the perfect candidate who solves both of their problems. If the United board messes this up, if they let this golden opportunity that's literally fallen into their lap slip away, it's not just a mistake, it's proof of malpractice.